Alright, welcome to the elimination day of the Hearthstone 2025 World Championship. Today, 8 players will go home, 4 players will go 0-2 and be very disappointed in themselves. The other 4 will go 1-2 and still be disappointed, but not as much. And 4 other players will advance to the top 8 to fill out the top 8 with the winners of our groups already. And we have some great names today that are fighting for survival. PocketTrain, Furyhunter, Gabi, all pillars of European Hearthstone for years now. They all will have to find their way to top 8. But it won't be easy because there is going to be Inkuro, who's been, I think, universally called the best player of the first 2 days of the tournament. There will be Zhao Ti, the Chinese strong, the Chinese superstar, and the biggest, I think, or the most appearances at the World Championship, and others trying to stop them and trying to get the top 8 spot for themselves. So let's go check out the games. Alright, so first of all, we have Zhao Ti leading versus PocketTrain 2-1. And oh, sorry, I did this. Alright. A little bit of a rocky start of the recap. I'm tired. This has been going on for like 10 hours. I'm glad that I haven't been streaming it, but it's like 2 a.m. here, and I still have like an hour of this recap to record. So, and I still have to do other stuff after it. So, without further ado, let's get going with this. All right, PocketTrain is on his Death Knight versus Zhao Ti's Cycle Rogue. His Pocket already managed to get the wins of his unusual decks, and now he just needs to win with the Death Knight and the Shaman. But both of them need to beat Cycle Rogue, which isn't a great matchup for either of them, to be fair. Pocket's hand is looking a little suspicious, with a little too much core spending, but it can be really good if we pick up like a Dreadhound handler here. Zhao hand is looking really good on the other hand, has a 1-drop, has a weapon. The weapon was actually drawn from Platy, so no discarded turn for Platy. There was a not great turn free with Wisp Phoenix to do. Now we can play Mauler instead, and I think we'll end up doing that as we can get the Wisp and Phoenix down for 0 later, so we don't really want to do them right now. And I think this is what Zhao Ti will decide. This is kind of a complicated decision, so he's taking his time on it. Yeah, doesn't want to swing the weapon because it is very unlikely for him to get the Everything Must Go on the board on this turn. He decides he'd much rather wait a turn. Starts with a swing this turn. Picks up a Cultist map. Doesn't pick up any more card draw though, so this situation is not looking great for him. He might go Wisp Weapon Phoenix here and shuffle the Incendius instead of the Wisp so that the Phoenix comes down on board. But that does not look, since he can't swing this weapon anymore, that does not look like it sets up for a great turns afterwards. He will probably have to Maelstrom next turn. You might consider Talnos for card draw, but the OTK is pretty important in this matchup. So probably don't shuffle or don't play it just for a card draw here. Although he does need to find some card draw in a few upcoming turns. Otherwise this will not look great. Does draw 2 with the weapon, so it'll be fine. Pocket does have a location, which is Copy and Raptors. Very strong one. Manages to keep a board around. There are asteroids in Zhao Ti's deck that can help you clean up the board, but they won't necessarily do that. Zhao Ti does find Shadow Seven's Placer Collector and 2 Phoenixes and another Collector. He does get to draw another card and gets to play an EMG here, which he is considering whether he wants to get a Talonus on board and spend this prep on an EMG, but I don't think that's much of a decision at all. And this is quite a massive board for the DK to deal with, especially that GLT also rolled this Alloy Advisor, coming in very clutch. Thanks to the Pterodax though, Pocket will be able to address this board, get the Giant down, and now GLT, and now this plays also really awkwardly into Incendius, as GLT would have to trade basically his entire board into this blob, if he doesn't want his Incendius to get poisoned. And then the Incendius would die to the location minion anyway. So there is a pretty valid argument to just Rokara here and attack this blob instead of playing Incendius. Just... yeah, which he decides to do instead of playing the Cindy. The production there showcasing what the weapon actually does on the left. Also really good for GLT is that he leaves Pocket with not really a great copy target, so that he doesn't immediately get rushed by a 5-5 on the Elise. And Pocket decides that he does not want to play the Dreadhound Handler and a Form Render to try to push some damage, but instead wants to bank the Marin for the future turn. As far as I remember on the broadcast, people said that, or in the watch party, people said that this play would have set up lethal against Incendius with the Dreadhound Handler and the Form Render. I'm not exactly sure, so I won't comment on it, but if you want to figure this out on yourself, you can, I guess, go back in the video and actually check if that play would have been better against Incendius. So a little bit of a criticism there. Now this is only, what, 18 damage, which is 5 off against the Shaladra still. He does find Crown from this wand and summons 2 8/8s in play. But there is an Incendius down, which will be a problem. Pocket does not find healing. He's only at 19 life with a Blood Mage Talnos and 5 in hand and 5 eruptions in the deck, as well as some asteroids. I don't exactly remember how many. So he will probably just be exploding to this. Yeah, and 1 cause Doobie also picked up. Very, very good for GLT. And I think this Mauler would just be lethal. Or is it even in hand? He's playing cards in some order, and Pocket's already waving. He knows. He knows it's over. He knows his tournament is over. He's going to end it at 0-2, unfortunately. Very sad to see that. The 2023 World Champion goes down, and in fact, this is after he announced it earlier and tweeted today. This is the end of his competitive career. He says that he's disappointed in himself today, but he's glad it's over. He watching everyone else's games over the last couple of days really hit home how much everyone else wanted to be there more than me. Made a bunch of mistakes and deservedly lost 0-2 in Worlds, and goodbye to the competitive career. And goodbye to Pocket too. It was such a pleasure watching you, and I am glad that I got to experience your streams, experience everything that you did really during during your competitive years. It's fantastic. Yeah, it was fantastic watching you play, and hopefully we can see you at the casting desk maybe in the future. But anyways, the tournament goes on. We have GLT versus Tensoku. GLT just beat Pocket. Now he is in the decider match. Winner of this match advances to the top 8. And we have Cycle Rogue versus Shaman at 0-0 here. Is this not speeded up? It is. Okay. Cool. Double Platy for GLT. A little bit of tempo, but this Platy will die, I think, to the Static Shock. Yes, and Tensoku will also have 1/1s to follow this up. But the second Platy does not look so hot here. The map also doesn't look that great, as playing it will probably mean that you will not be drawing a second card from it unless you hit exactly a Wisp, and that's not even that good to play here. So I'm not actually sure whether you want to Dagger. You probably wouldn't want to Platy. Yeah, Jyoti decides to Dagger instead here. And kills off the 1/1 Murloc to play around Birdwatching, hitting it. And a little bit of an awkward hand for Tensoku with no big spell. He could coin Flight of the Firehawk anyway, just hope to hit the big spell. So that the Bellhop will actually summon a copy. And decides to do that. And even if he doesn't top deck the big spell, he can play the Growfins and a Birdwatching. Or he can even play a 5/5 if he chooses to do so. JLT does find a Shadow Step from the map, and he does get to play a double Phoenix to contest the future 5/5s coming down. And the big spell gets picked up off the top, so Tensoku does get to actually play his super powerful turn. Not exactly sure what he's thinking about. It maybe kind of doesn't feel great to play the 5/5s into the Phoenixes when one of them gets traded on board, but the alternatives don't look better, so I think you have to just do it here. And now Zhao T, if he finds preparation out of this map or this EMG, he could probably get the EMG down. He finds prep and he finds Doobie, so that he can deal with the 5/5. If he finds a second prep now, he'd be able to play the EMG. That does not happen, so the game does not end on the spot, but it is still looking very, very good for Zhao T, as he's gonna be able to trade off both of the Bellhops, and Tensoku will have to take a slower turn here with this Hagafa, try to set up his future turns, not really putting that much power on board and letting Rogue do as much setting up as they want. The prep was a very next card actually, and Jyoti is going to pop off of this Web Weaver. I'm not sure if we played... Yeah, we didn't play a Space Rock Collector, so I'm not sure why we started the Web Weaver. Not exactly intuitive to me. But nevertheless, we are going to be able to play both of these Everything Must Goes. Yep. Throw in the Young Manager in there to kill the Hagafa, summon 4 random 4-drops, and that will usually end it against the Shaman. Yeah, just the good draw for Rogue is sometimes just so hard to beat for the Shaman. I mean, this was pretty much as perfect as the draw gets, really. Bearing some, like, ridiculous turn 3 Everything Must Go plays. This, yeah, this is just exactly what you want in this deck. And Tensoku will not be able to find anything. He might stay in the game for a little longer, trying to fight for board, but there are so many 4-drops that I'll just like skip through this. Yeah, Jyoti makes some trades, pushes the Shaman down to 9, and yeah. Tensoku played a little bit on, but at the end of the day wasn't able to win this one, and goes down 0-1 in the series. And the series actually would end 3-0 to Jyoti, and Jyoti, coming down from a 0-1 deficit, will advance to the top 8, where I think he faces Yan Ming in there. So very exciting match between the Chinese players. In the next game, we have Insane versus Chonsu. Insane on the Cyclorogue versus Shaman again. I'm sorry for bringing this matchup up twice, but it felt like this game was very worth showing for what happens in it. Yeah, Chonsu with the cat ears, taking the technology out of from Yan Ming of the lucky cat ears. Has a decent curve, and he has double Pirate Sanctuary, which could help him cheat out these 8-8s really, really early. Maybe that does something against the Rogue. Meanwhile, Insane does not have the weapon, so a little bit of an awkward hand. You could play this map, and if you hit a Phoenix, you could play it. If you hit a 1-drop, you could play it. Yeah, he does hit a Phoenix. He also could play a Platysaur. He decides to play the Platy, Shadow Step it, and pick up double Phoenix. Has the weapon too. This looks like almost guaranteed everything must go on turn 4. This looks very, very strong. As long as you actually draw the EMGs. Also picks up Prep, so he is going to start the turn with having 6 cards drawn on turn 4, with 4 mana left to spend. That you can't really get better than that. Chonsu does have the Shaman hand that you want, with the Hagafa and the location, which will help you get this Frosty Decor out early. So that can compete with this crazy rogue draw. But it will still be an uphill battle. Does pick up a Static Shock to also kill off this Phoenix if he wants to. Although I'm not sure how much he would actually want to kill this Phoenix, because if you do, then there is a chance that Insane just goes in with a Web Weaver, given that he has a Shadow Step Platy, and then the Phoenix just draws an extra card, so he decides not to do so. Yeah, and Insane will start with eating the Wisp. Not really what the card tells you to eat, but it'll have to do. Spends the EMG. Not quite the minions that we saw in the previous game, but still pretty good, I would say. And you could play either Second Eat or Cultist map. Second Eat is the same search space as Cultist map, so you have the same chance of fighting an EMG and will guaranteed draw you more cards, so he decides to go for that. Does lose a Doobie, which can be valuable, but he was gonna lose this Doobie anyway, since the Platy would get traded, and therefore just decides to kill it off himself. Not really the world's most amazing turn for Chonsu. You probably have to location and Turbulus. So, no, yeah, you're not excited about it. You might want a Static Shock to do a tiny bit more damage. He decides not to. And this board will just push a lot for Insane. Sets up the weapon. Potentially is hoping to... maybe he's hoping to get the Insidious down, although the Insidious is hiding at the bottom of his deck. No Asteroids were played either, so these 6 cards are all real cards, no cast and drawn cards in there for Insane. And Chonsu could play the 8/8s, could play the Nomelia, could also cast Wish Upon a Star. I could also play even Furious Foul, skill the clear of the 5/4, and also Static Shock though, 2/1. I'm not exactly sure what you're supposed to do here. The Nomelia looks the cleanest because it clears the board. So you at least stop yourself from taking damage, and if Insane manages to not find the Incendious, then maybe you could be in this. Does play the Growthins. Actually, given that he knows no Dubious Purchase can get played because one of them was discarded and the other one was played, he will he will just play the 9/9 straight to push some damage with those. Yeah, Insane does not find the Incendious to be able to prep although it was a little ambitious to prep O-Manager Incendious and try to get there. He decides to try to clean up these minions with Asteroids. Does not really draw as many as he would like initially, but plays the Web Weaver to draw a little more. The board does get fully cleared. Actually, he drew every single card from his deck, and decides to not play the Phoenix, actually, to not put himself further into fatigue. And Incendious will be able to get played next turn. And with the Shaman at 13, it is, I believe, only Ziliax that could save the Shaman off the top. Should be able to clean up a lot of this board with Nomelia, though, for now. And he's just gonna hope to get Ziliax off the top to get him out. Maybe Frosty Decor could do it too. Yeah, Nomelia does come down, and it will, between the cleave attack and the death rattle, will clean up everything but the Web Weaver. And Insane can just play the Incendious and nothing bad could happen to him here. So the opponent is at 11, and it is only top deck Ziliax. Insane is still thinking about this, trying to think if he can beat Ziliax here. Obviously doesn't know that it would have to come up from the top. And then he plays the Wisp that draws a card. Disaster strikes. He draws all the asteroids, and now he just loses to Frosty Decor, which is in Chonsu's hand, right? Because like Chonsu is at 6. There is still a chance with Molar and O Manager to be able to get the asteroids to go face. Insane cannot believe it. He's holding his head in his hands. It's an absolute disaster scenario. You really hate when that happens at the biggest stage. There was some reason that, like, I think he was trying to play around Ziliax, and he thought like he needs to push the one with the Wisp to be able to actually have lethal through the Ziliax, and he just kind of forgot that the Wisp will draw a card. You really hate to see that, and unfortunately these Frosty Decors will form a unbeatable wall, and Insane is just dying to fatigue in, well, technically 2 turns time, but actually 1 turn time, because he can't even clear the board, and it's just over. It's actually just over. So sad. It's like 95% one game for Insane. It just suddenly turns into a 0% of that one small mistake. And it shows that the pressure just sometimes gets to you. And it is very unfortunate. He goes for the lethal out of the Mauler, hits one of the asteroids, but does not hit the second one. And the Shaman does stay alive at 2 health. And closes out the game. How crazy is that? Just an absolute disaster. And Insane, even though he was able to pick himself up after this game and managed to play well with the rogue, he did not manage to get it through, and he lost 1-3 versus Chonsu's other decks. And it will be Chonsu that will be playing in the decider match against Sayorin. And here we have a Warrior Mirror. I'll try to probably scroll through this as quickly as possible, because the Warrior Mirrors do tend to be pretty lengthy. And a lot of what happens in the early game doesn't really matter that much. So, yeah. Honestly, like in the early game, you really just want to spend your mana on things, and you want to find new heights. Neither of the players finds new heights. Chonsu does find the Elise, which he can play for a 5. He does also find the Yor, so this is... these are cards that he can spend mana on that are actually useful, right? Drawing cards, getting the location going. Yes, I kind of agree with the 5. Not sure if I agree with this exact choice of the location, but I think Copy had like some bad options that you really don't want alongside it. So, Copy and Armor is fine to pick. Sayorin goes for a 10, which I find rather questionable, just because it takes so long to get the 10 down, and you don't actually have any cards to play as Sayorin here. So yeah, I'm questioning this 10 choice a lot. Chonsu will coin a Shield Slam, being aware that there is a Brewmaster in Sayorin's deck. Would not want Sayorin to bounce that back. And Chonsu copies the Ham. I'm not sure how valuable copying the Ham is, but he does get Sayorin's Ceaseless, so that's a nice piece of removal gotten away. And Sayorin, as much as he probably would like these Hams to thin his deck out of minions, he can't really... he doesn't really want to take the damage from them, so he decides to clean them up. And both players play yours, and a lot of this game I'm going to skip forward through. Now, Sayorin gets his copy Death Rattle location. I believe that is the Death Rattle is on this location because there's a Renovator in Chonsu's deck. And the copy location is important to get down. Now Chonsu makes some clearing-ish play with Dracorex. Has to sacrifice one of the Dracorexes, which is not ideal, but it is what it is. Sayurin did pick up double New Heights, and Chonsu only picked up one and didn't even play it yet. So that mana spending is important. Chonsu does have a Steam Cleaner. I'm not exactly sure even if it's for this matchup or for other matchups. But I mean, I'm assuming that cleaning up the opponent's quest rewards could be valuable. So he might try to do that. There's also a Brewmaster in Chonsu's deck. I don't really understand why they're playing such tech lists. And also, in the meantime, Chonsu is at 79 and now 89 life. He swings his Bulwark into Nemaran very aggressively. Very aggressive play from Chonsu. As he does know that there is no Ceaseless, so there's one less piece of removal in Sayurin's deck. Yeah, Sayurin is holding his reward. I can't really play it first if the opponent has a Steam Cleaner in hand. It would be a little inconsiderate. Chonsu does just play his reward, even though he has a Steam Cleaner. I'm not exactly sure what the plan is here. And then he Brewmasters it? Okay, I don't really understand what's going on here, to be perfectly honest with you. And then Sayurin is going to do the same. This makes sense from Sayurin's perspective because he's playing around the Steam Cleaner. Maybe Sayurin has a Steam Cleaner too, but I didn't think so from when I looked last at the lineups. Yeah, Chonsu is chilling at 91 with a Bulwark. Does not really mind the Ziliax knocking off a charge from his Bulwark. But this is a little awkward for Chonsu. He does decide to replace his weapon just to make hand space. I would really like to personally play the Barnabas here, and I think we have enough life totals to tank the damage for a moment. Yeah, he does agree. This will help his mana spending a lot because all of the minions in his deck are now free. So he will be able to draw cards quickly, find hand space. Sayurin does copy the Barnabas to also help out his own mana spending, and he does have all you can eat in hand. So that could draw him some 0 mana minions to go alongside this Time Orb that he already picked up. Could really be close to lethal. Then he decides to copy the Ziliax. I guess it's a nice AoE clear. I didn't really see what the burn from Chonsu was. But I think you kind of have to find a clear in case the opponent has Time Warp. Right, like you can't really take 36 for free. That would actually leave you dead to Time Warp. I guess you could bob, and then the Time Warp does not kill you. Oh, he bobs the bob to make Sayurin overdraw, I guess? Sure. He could not find something to spend the mana on, so he just decided to bob the bob. Okay. Whatever, I guess. Sayurin does find a Karnasa and a Dracorex from this all-you-can-eat. And he does have a lot of 0 mana minions now. And also a lot of life of this Bulwark. So I would even be inclined to say that Sayurin's fine here. But then I don't understand why we played this Brawl where when the Dracorex like clear up all of their minions on the board. Very confused by that one, actually. It's like removal still like kind of matters in this matchup, since if you can't kill the other person with Time Warp, then you will have to play like the grindy game, and the Brawl helps out with that a lot, obviously. And Chonsu does look like he could kind of die to Time Warp, but also Sayurin doesn't have any card draw in hand, so he only is kind of dying. Chonsu goes for the draw, picks up the Marin, which is actually very, very strong here. and also gets the Amara down. So Chonsu is actually back to 89, which is a little hard to do, I would say. I'm not exactly sure why Latorvius is in hand, or why is there a Latorvius in hand? Didn't we roll Time Orb on like the first one? And now we also play it? I guess we're really trying to find Galvadon here. Now I think Chonsu would like to Steam Cleaner. He's gonna play Marin first. I guess you can't really Steam Cleaner because of Wondrous Wand. Event Krog of this crown from the Marin. It's pretty powerful. Oh, right, he's doing this because Soyoran just threw all of his removal away, right? Like he threw all his brawls away, his ceaseless got eaten. So he just actually can't remove this board. Except for with minions, but all of the minions are gonna turn into 1/1s. Yeah, so Soyoran is actually just going to die to this board. I think these minions were supposed to turn into 5/5s. For some reason, they didn't. Not actually sure why. But anyway, this is kind of rough. These Murlocs need to be really good. They really aren't. And this is just gonna be it. Like, Soren is just gonna die to the board. There's no need for Time Warp. Actually, Chonsu just Steam Cleaners his own Time Warp away. And Steam Cleaners also the enemy Galvadons and the Sulfurases. Yeah, I mean, he just decided that he doesn't need it. And he's just gonna go all face. The Krog will hopefully turn these minions into 1/1s. I'm not actually sure. Okay, it will. And yeah, this is just over. I mean, Soren just can't kill the Krogs. That's it. This is the game. Like, he'll play for a little bit, but yeah, he can't get through the taunts. Yeah, who needs Time Warp anyway? Yeah, it's still like, he's debating a little, plays the Galvadon, makes it big. I mean, the minions still can't do anything, there is a taunt in the way. Siren has to like Time Warp to stay alive, but it doesn't actually keep him alive. It's just a complete disaster. Yeah. And Chonsu advances to the top 8 as well, to face Definition tomorrow. Quite a strange warrior mirror. Don't see that happen every day. And what I also see is that we are 30 minutes into this recap, and I've got 4 more series to show you. So, well, this is gonna be a long one. All right, the next one is Philfield versus Gyu. Gyu on his Death Knight versus Philfield's Egg Warlock. Gyu's Protoss Rogue was actually unable to get any wins so far this tournament, and it's lost the previous 2 games in this series. And now he decides to go with the Death Knight instead of the Rogue. And I just feel obligated to show you this Warlock, just because it gets banned later in the Inkura series. And this is kind of their special deck, so yeah, just have to see this. And this is like an extremely favored matchup, but this game gets a little bit weird. Oh, Philfield does find the egg immediately. Did not need to bring them out of his fridge this time for the people who watched live broadcast. And I think it also showed up on the recap. He was actually just holding. Yeah, he actually brought some eggs, and he was I don't really know what he was doing with them, but he was showing them to the camera as he was unable to draw the egg that's in this deck in his deck last time. This time he finds the egg from his deck, does not need the real life ones. And then I'm kind of confused about this Catacombs, because he picks up the Egg Bearer despite the fact that the other 2 cards were good. In fact, he could just like fit in a Conflagrate from that into this turn. So yeah, a slight problem there. Yu does have a Foam Render, and he starts actually pushing a very good amount of damage, putting Philfield down to 14, potentially even 13 life if he decides to go face with this 1-1. But he is debating whether he wants the corpses. I feel like I'd probably prefer the corpses if I was Gyu here. Well, he decides no. He decides I'm just gonna push the face damage. Maybe he decided that he's not gonna be able to swing this from render anyway next turn. So he might as well push the extra one. And then eventually he's gonna be able to swing this again afterwards. A little bit of an early Archdruid, but Filfield does not currently have a way to fully proc this egg. He's missing one ability to clean it up. One card that would clean it up. I should probably say. You could trade away all 3 of his minions, or at least 2 of his minions plus a hero power, to be able to swing this from render again. And that does feel like the most damage that we can do, so I think that's what we're gonna end up doing. Yeah, we are also shooting this Infested Breath at the enemy face. Try to get them low enough to the point where they can't just proc the egg. Filfield does pick up Eat the Imp from the top, being able to make the 20/20. Oh, now he can also, with this Abusive Sergeant, clear the poison by using the 0-2 egg and make 2 20/20s with the coin, with Eat the Imp and Drain Soul, which that has to just be good enough. I believe Gyu also does not run Grifta in his deck. So going up to 11, 2 20/20s, not really sure how can we lose from there. There is a removal from Zephyrus, which you kind of have to be careful about. Something like Shadow Word Ruin could really ruin Filfil's day. No such removals in Gyu's hand though. Only a Twisting Nether, which if he survives to, we could still maybe have a chance for the Death Knight, as the Warlock is really low and there isn't any healing in the Warlock's hand as it stands right now. And nothing really useful from this first Snow Flurry. Second Snow Flurry does give him Freezing Trap, and he will play that. Filfield will know that this is either Ice or a Freezing Trap, and he will test for Ice Trap pretty much immediately here with the Mortal Coil. Does know it's Freezing Trap now, so he will probably not attack with the 20/20. He just needs to, yeah, he's just going to stay there, maybe start popping the other egg with the health drain, get some life total. Just there does not feel like there's any need to hurry, right? The Spirit Bomb plus Hellfire can get through the Stunt Minion. Actually decides to go for the Archdruid to potentially proc the Freezing Trap, and also manages to get an Egg Death Rattle on this Archdruid. Yeah. But as long as Gyu can kill off this Archdruid, the Freezing Trap still protects him, and he is going to play Sanguine Infestation to do exactly that. Can't really accomplish anything though. Like, if you Twisting Nether this board, you are just gonna proc an egg. Eventually, maybe you can Morbid Swarm plus Twisting Nether and hope that leaves only eggs on the board, doesn't leave any 20/20s. And this is actually, so here we actually have a missed lethal from Filfield. So what you could do here is try to attack with the 20/20, get the 20/20 back in hand, which discounts your table flip, and then you can table flip Spirit Bomb and attack the face with the 20/20 and ooze, and then buff one of the eggs to attack again for 20 damage, pushing 40 damage to the enemy face. This play, it does feel like it mostly wins. We have 3 20/20s, we have a 0-3 egg. Although Gyu does have that Morbid Swarm plus Twisting Nether play, which will leave no eggs on the board, or no 20/20s on the board. And that is a little scary because there are no egg procs, right? So Yeah, this Twisting Nether actually goes really hard. Yeah, I mean, there is one egg perk, but there's only one egg, right? And as long as you can clear that, but she has 4 corpses. If he can hero power Pterodac's Nightmare, I mean, he can just Shaladrosel and Dream it. Actually, yeah, this is like a very scary spot for Philfeel. He finds the Umbra of the Catacombs. Will the Umbra give him 2 2020s? Because one is not enough to survive. Here, finds one, finds the other, and that's it. Can't kill. Yeah, you just can't kill both. I mean, he could by swinging his face into one, but then he's still gonna die to the ooze. So that's just it. That's the end. That's the impossible spot. And it is going to be Feel that advances to the decider to go up against Gabi. Here, yeah. McGew is trying to figure the way out, if there is a way, because it's all close, but it's not quite good enough. We'll play the Ziliaxes and just not attack with them, hoping that Divine Shields will save him. They will not. Philfield just table flips. Can't double Hellfire. Watch out for that, because that would be a self-lethal. But that's push 2 2020s to the face. And that is it. Philfield will advance to the top 8. Or not to the top 8, to the decider match, which we have on right now. Against Gabi, he's 2-1 up, and we have Warrior versus Rogue. I actually haven't seen this game, believe it or not. Cyclorogue has been doing pretty well into Warrior in this tournament overall, and this looks like a pretty good hand from Gabi. A little bit annoying that you have to shuffle away this Doobie with the Crystal Tusk. Crystal Tusk is actually kind of deceptive in that sense, where it makes, like, you don't actually, or you feel like your hands are better out they are, because sometimes Crystal Tusk just shuffles away your good card, and yeah, and then the hands don't feel that good. Philfield just equips the Bulwark, does not decide to swing with it, just says that this Bulwark will save him more life total, just using the procs of it. Now that he picked up the Invader, he is probably not going to play the Crocolisk or anything like that. You have to decide whether you play the shield block. Gabi has 5 damage on the board. He does decide to do it. Then he swings at the 2-1. Supposedly that would consume 2 charges, but since there was 1 charge left, that only consumes 1, and he still doesn't take damage. Just a little neat Hearthstone interaction. And Gabi does have the EMG, I think, available at this point if he finds it. Which I think you always eat the Wisp for it. Does not find it, so this is just the entire board that he's gonna make. And also, I'm not sure about pushing the 1, because that does kill the Webweaver into Invader Goggles, just for 1 damage. Also overdraws the one of the EMGs. Finds the All Manager. Not really sure about this, but I guess it's really hard to make a board into Invader because it just like dies. And I believe Philfield should just Yor here. It's a little awkward that you're not gonna be able to kill the Incendius that almost certainly comes down, since Gabi preserved the coins so awkwardly and didn't really do much this turn. But it is what it is. Maybe the shield block just finds you a shield slam. You definitely don't play the Crocolisk because there's no reason to turn you on gain 10 into gain 6 that leaves up minions. Finds the safety goggles too. That is a lot of armor. He could gain 21 in a single turn for not a lot of mana at all. Gabi coins the Incendius, has double Shadow Step in hand. He's shown in this tournament before that he really likes stepping the Incendius, doesn't do it this time. And that is a shield slam, that is a massive pickup for Philfield. And he is just going to gain as much armor as possible. Gabi is visibly upset with that. Although, he still has Maulers in the deck. I think both of them, right? So not really a problem. Draws all the asteroids off the top. Also was actually laughing at it, I think. Not particularly happy with that one either. And what are we doing here? We can do 27 if we play the Maulers. Okay. Oh, he's just gonna decide to do the EMG this turn. And the Mauler combo deals 9 per Mauler, so that is 36 total. So as long as Feel just stays out of the range of the combo, which he can do, utilizing the quests expertly in this, as well as he can in the matchup, then he is just going to be fine here. And yeah, Gabi will just go through the motions, but it is just not enough damage. And the board never gets there because the board like literally just gets cleared by the hostile invader when it dies to the asteroids. Yeah, so we're just gonna see the meteor shower go down, rain upon the warrior, but it is not even close to enough. And it is Phil that advances to the top 8 as well to face Maxi in that matchup. Gabi actually just disconnects from the camera. He was done with it. Not very happy with the loss. And yeah, we have our third top 8 participant. One remains from the Group D, which some call the Group of Death. We had some of the best matches in there, involving Furyhunter and Tianming. This first one, the Dragon Warrior, which I also not sure if I had the chance to show off yet, versus Tianming's Death Knight. Fury keeps the one for Peddler. Not really the most explosive opening hand for Fury, but it does get to spend mana and does have a Brute Keeper, which will clean up Death Knight's small minions with the weapon. I assume he decides to go for a 1/4 here instead of the Brute Keeper though, as it is more sticky and does not require you to swing the weapon at the 1/1. You might also want to location the 1/1 away, since that just, well, yeah, that just clears it. Protects your board a little better against Dreadhound Handler too. Which Tianming does happen to have. And I think as Tianming, you might have to trade it. You're a little scared about the Stonecarver, which would buff Fury's damaged minions. And he just trades one minion. He says that if there is a Stonecarver, then this 1/1 cannot die. Unless there is a second location. But if there was a Stonecarver also, it would have probably came down on turn 2. So he's not very scared of it. But the 2 minions for Fury are still pretty strong here. That is a lot of stats. A little bit of an awkward turn. Does not have a great play, only can play a 1 attack poisonous minion. But the 1 attack to the face will not be great. He does decide to push some extra damage by damaging his own Brute Keeper to give it +2 attack of the location rather than trying to clear the 1/1. We do have Zephyrus for Tianming, which he will decide to develop here, overplaying the Xavius as this is significantly more helpful, and after seeing the spells, he does decide to also play this Infested Breath, clean up 2 minions. Fury picks up the best possible top deck, I believe, with the Windspeak Worm. Just the only real 5-drop in the deck. There is one Tormented Dreadwing, but that's there only really for Elise, and it isn't that great to play, ever, really. This Windspeaker Worm comes in clutch, and we do maintain our board, which is kind of what you have to do against the Death Knight. Because if the Death Knight has the board, it has a much easier time gaining life with the leeches, as they are hard to destroy. And with the lifesteal Pterodax too. Tianming does take a 1 mana location, since this matchup usually does not go particularly long, so he's just trying to stay alive as well as he can. Fury has a decision here whether he wants to play the Chronolord Epoch, destroy the Elise, or whether he wants to just play the Elise, try to get copy on the poison, and he also gets Raptor to have quite a little bit more board presence, potentially push a little more damage. Continues trading, as you kind of have to against the Death Knight. And if there would... Oh, yeah, if it wasn't for this top deck Maladar, then this turn did not look that great. With the Maladar, both the Ziliaxes come down and the Giant comes down. Fortunately for Fury, he does have a really good answer to this with the Chronolord Epoch. But Tianming is up to 31 or 27, I guess, at this point. So this is still playable for Fury, but it does not look great. It looked like he was completely winning before that Maladar top deck, and now he's just gonna have to fight his way for it. We have a Reborn Blob and an elusive Pterodax offered. Honestly, the elusive Pterodax was kind of tempting still here, as well as the Blob. It's hard to find time to fit in this Blob at this point. Fury does discover card draw from this Dark Rider, and this discovers more card draw, and takes another Epoch, potentially to clear more Death Knight boards. I wasn't really originally a big fan of this Epoch, and I still no longer, like, I'm still not really a big fan of it. But also, I am impressed with what it has been doing throughout this match, or what it has done throughout this in this game. I'm trying to say, why are the words so hard? And yeah, it's defending itself as the inclusion in this deck. Tianming does have a very good turn though here with the Husk and the Hero Power being able to clean up everything but the Stone Carver. Firak off the top will cast Supernova, refueling Fury's entire hand with cheap fire spells to start, or cheating a lot of mana too. That is actually a crazy pickup. Lots of stuff to do with these fire spells too. Not a lot of them are like super expensive to start with. But this is just lots of stuff to do, lots of Dark Gift minions to get. Quite strong. It does activate the Vanish for Tianming, where playing the Vanish not as scary, or yeah, words are hard to say. It does not return the Naralex or the Firak to hand, so he can play the Vanish rather easily. Fury does just like try to maximize pushing damage. Oh, finds a charged Siamat, which he takes almost instantly. That'll be able to pick up Wind Fury and push 14 damage on its own. Plays another Smoke Book. Finds an Egg Basher too that can go with the Siamat, so he's threatening 22 damage from hand right now if there is not a taunt. There will be a Reborn Blob in the way that we know. And it does come down with a Husk. So Fury needs to spend a little bit of time here trying to calculate the lethal. He can take Divine Shield Wind Fury on the Siamat. And then Egg Basher it, but that is not going to be good enough because there are 4 taunts in the way, right? Which, yeah, this location just does not get through 4 taunts as the copy is only a 1-1. There, I'm not sure if there was a lethal. I very much doubt it. I think Fury would have found it if there was one, since he was looking for it since the blob came down pretty much. But he does get to push 8. Leaves up 2 leeches on the board. But puts the Death Knight at 13, which, given that there is 22 damage in hand, Tianming will have to find a taunt. And the problem for him is he's not really looking for it. A Dormant Taunt won't help. So this Discover is not it. Takes Acolyte instead. There's to play another creature. There is a double Battlecry Snow Flurry that can help address the board, but that can't help address the charge damage from hand. and he will be able to clean up this entire board actually from Fury, but it does not matter as he's only at 16 life, and the charge Tiamat with the Mortal Strike or the Egg Bearer will be enough to close the game out, and Fury Hunter will be winning this one. He also manages to move on and win this series, and he is going to play Inkuro in the decider, and I have to tell you, I don't know what it is about Inkuro, but all of his games are quite incredible. So we are going to spectate more than one game from that match. Oh, sorry. I need to... what happened? Okay, something happened with my setup. Give me a moment. Oh, I think I know what happened with my setup. Yeah, alright. Alright, first game of this match, we have Death Knight versus Hunter. This is probably the only Hunter that we get to see. I'm not sure what's up with people leaving up Inkuro's Hunter. But Fury was just scared of the Egg Warlock. It seemed really good into his unique lineup. So we don't get to see that one from Inkuro. He does find the Scarab Keychain on one. Not much going on in Fury's hand here. Plays the Signature Annihilatron, which looks very, very sad. The Infested Breath will clean that up, and there is an Elise for Fury that can be coined out. So we're looking pretty good for Fury so far. There is also a Maladar with a Giant, so that looks like it might create a crazy swing turn here. Not really having a play though, which is a little concerning. Like, he is going to coin this Elise and hope for a good top deck, as this Maladar is not really a turn 6, so coining it out won't do much. Does take a 5, he did end up taking Raptors and I think discover a spell on that one. And Inkuro, yeah, that is the confirmation. And Inkuro needs to like find a play. Just decides to play a 4-mana and counters, which is kind of a sign to you that whenever a Hunter does that, the Hunter hunt does not do much. Fury does find a playable card, which is pretty much all you're looking for in a lot of these Death Knight turns. It's just playable cards, and eventually you get your powerful swing. Inkuro is offered a pretty interesting choice here between the Sylvanas and the Grifta. The Sylvanas just looks so good on this board that he decides to go for it. And he expects it not to die. But Fury does find Helm of Humiliation here, being able to actually clean the Sylvanas up. Unfortunately for him, the buff lands on the Ceaseless. Yeah, he's laughing about it a little bit, about how useless that is. Inkuro's hand still doesn't do much. He just gives his Mixo plus health and draws a card. And then takes the Pupil, takes a Bird Watching off that, trying to potentially find things that do something, but also setting up for this Incendious on turn 7. Fury knows that there is an Incendious in the deck, and presumes that it might be in hand, given how little the Hunter has been able to do so far, and that is indeed true. And the Incendious will come down, even though it gets countered by this Blow-Off Tower, you still kind of have to play it as an investment in your future turns. Fury does find a Memoriam Manifest, as well as the Forgotten Millennium of this location, but the Manifest will be a little better, as Fury is about to do his big swing turn with the Exarch Maladar and the Ziliax, clearing off the Incendious, playing the Giant. And this board is actually extremely hard to clear, right? The Ziliaxes have Divine Shield, so Inkuro would need 4 Eruptions, or I guess 3 Eruptions with this Mixologist. Does not find anything like that, but he can scout Birdwatching, finds a Glacial Shard to stay alive, and given that he's already gotten a Glacial Shard, he decides to pick the Grifta instead of the second one, just so that he can have a turn next turn. It's pretty good recognition from him there. And yeah, there is no lethal for Fury, or it's not even close. He's really looking to find like something like a weapon here. Would be really nice for him. But instead, he's just gonna have to trade all of these minions because they can trade Fury's minions otherwise. Fury's big minions, and you really don't want that to happen. You really want to preserve your board. Yeah, Inkura does find an eruption of the top, which helps him clean up the little minions. And now these Griftas can actually do things, right? So he finds damage of the first one that is setting up lethal of the needy top deck. And he finds mind control of the second one, keeping him alive by being able to steal the Ziliak's heal for 6. And Fury is only at 32, so he is actually dead to a Grifta top deck, which deals exactly 32. Now Fury goes for a scout turn himself with the Discover from this location, finds a Corpsicle in there, shoots the Corpsicle at the face, and he tries to find, I'm not actually sure what. He gets damage of his own, which is, I believe, 1 mana or 1 damage of lethal, depending on how you look at it. Because the scout could go face, but that's only 12, and you can't hero power with it because you're 1 mana short. Yeah, he does get the hero power in to set up lethal on his own, and Inkura finds a needy off the top to win the game. That is a crazy game 1 of the series. Maybe not the most important one, because the hunter was probably going to be able to get through anyway. But nevertheless, quite a big one to win for Inkuro. And now we move on to the game 2 of this very same series. This one, I just have to showcase the Druid. I don't think I've had the opportunity to showcase it a single time, because it's been getting banned a lot. People have respected the deck. So this is the one opportunity that I do have. Inkura probably left it up because it is really bad into the Egg Warlock. Did not expect the Egg Warlock to get banned and suspected that Egg Warlock might have trouble in this series. So we are gonna see it against Cycle Rogue. These Eridar Brutes are really crucial in this matchup. And also so are the Ebb and Flows. The Ebb and Flow finding the ability to answer this Platysaur off the top is quite nice. There are Ebb and Flows and Swipes in Fury's deck, so tempoing a Webweaver is a little scary. But Inkura could have definitely considered that against this Druid deck, just because it's not actually that good at removing minions. Finds Innervate of this Revelation actually very impactful, being able to cheat out this Amir Dressel into play a turn early. Inkura does find an Eat the Imp, so that he is able to draw 3 cards here, continue with his game plan. And he might go for an EMG on 4, but also I'm not even sure how good EMGing on 4 really is versus this deck, as Eridar Brute exists. He does not decide to go for it, he decides that his hand is nowhere near good enough, but also his hand does not really have card draw, unless he plays the weapon. Fury does just play the Sin Ashari to continue his game plan. Inkura's hand, again, not very spicy. Does just get the EMG. These are very good minions from the EMG, I have to say, as Kane will allow him to actually go right past the Brutes. And the Infernal is just very big. But the Brutes will still come down, and even though the Rogue can ignore them for a turn, then in the future the Kane will probably die, and the Brutes will still heal the Druid back up. The Insidious does come down for the Rogue. There are still a lot of cards in the deck. It's, I think, only 3 Asteroids and 5 Eruptions, so that means 13 real cards in the deck. It is actually really difficult to draw through all of that in a single turn. So I presume Inkura will probably not be trying to do that immediately on this turn 7. Fury does clean up the board with double swipe, puts himself up to 32. Inkura does start with prep map, leaving himself an option to draw very aggressively. Does not find a single eruption though, so this is probably a sign for him to stop a little bit. Although it is difficult to spend mana here. You could just go Mauler and step it, but the Mauler does draw an extra card. You definitely want to, or you probably want to get this Phoenix down just so that it can push damage. Just decide to go for a tiny board with a Webweaver Phoenix, but then he daggers. I'm not exactly sure by this Webweaver, he just decides that he doesn't need it because he has the second one, I suppose. And he doesn't really have mana to fit it in either. So it's probably fine. And he's just going to try to go for the kill next turn. Fury plays rather defensively, copies his Amir Dressel for extra free armor. And he is going to try to gain as much armor as he possibly can. Is able to also play this Ebb and Flow, too much Egg Warlock today, clearly. For 5 extra life, and then he gains 15 with Sleep Under the Stars. And Inkura has very close to the maximum damage that this rogue deck could possibly do, but unfortunately for him, that's only 51. And yeah, we will see that as Fury starts this turn at 58 when Eruption gets drawn. So he will go down to, I believe that is gonna be 7 life at the end of this by drawing all of the asteroids and all of the eruptions. I'm sorry for spoiling the result already, but you can calculate those things, and yeah, this is just not gonna be good enough, unfortunately for him. Yeah, that's a lot of damage, but unfortunately this feels a little bit like trying to, you know, kill a control warrior. It just like, it feels like you're getting there, you're doing something, but it's never actually enough. And the Ziliax will end the game here, as this board will not go anywhere, and they are also 6 tons. So the Druid does go through. And now, at 1-1, we have the next game, Warrior versus Shaman. This one was quite crazy, I have to say. Inkura keeps the quest, Fury does have the Flight of the Firehawk, Shatterblock, and Pirate Sanctuary, and decides to keep all of those cards. Not a bad idea, as the Flight obviously finds the Bellhops, also finds the big spell for the Bellhops. He's counting something regarding the Shatterblock mana, probably thinks about getting the Shatterblock down. But I think here you just kind of want to play the Bellhops out. There is an Elise also in Fury's hand. So he's just gonna get the Bellhops out. He actually gets double Bellhops from the Flight of the Firehawk, which is only possible because Bellhop is dual tribe. Which is absolutely crazy. Inkura plays the Unleash the Crocolisk here early. I'm not exactly sure why we're taking extra damage. Oh, it's because we want to shield stomp the 5/5. That is acceptable, I suppose. Yeah, he will take extra damage from these 2 frees for a while. Fury does get the location down, and the Bellhop will be able to play the Shatterblock next turn. Or will he? Because Unleash the Crocolisk can boardlock Inkuro, or can boardlock Fury away from being able to do that. And since Inkuro does not exactly have any better plan on how to deal with this board, he is just gonna keep it locked. Then probably play the Bob next turn, unless he picks up a Brawl to deal with it. I mean, I think the Bob would still be preferred, honestly. You're just going to play against the... yeah. And you're just going to hope that the 1 minion that they can play is not going to be very good. Yeah, Fury could unboardlock himself by playing Static Shock and Pop-Up Book, but that does not actually let him play Shatterblock, and next turn this location will open up, so you can click it to destroy it and then play the Shatterblock. There is some hand space calculating that you need to do if you actually want to play this Elise with the Shatterblock. He decides that he has plenty of hand space. He doesn't really need to get rid of any card. Inkura does pick up a Brawl off the top to actually be able to deal with this board. Otherwise he would have just died to it. And Precursory Strike finishes off the 2-3 that wins the brawl. So great outcome for Inkuro. Also does have the Elise for the next turn. Meanwhile, Fury goes for triple Elise, takes 2 5s, and now actually a third 5 too. So triple 5 is going to try to set up a large damage Alakir combo with copies and attacks going on. Yeah, and does get rid of the pop-up book to get the hand space. A little bit clogs his board, but also the warrior cannot really afford to play into Wish Upon a Star here, being at 20 life only. Inkura does just decide to do it anyway. Picks up a Fortify from this Discover a Spell Armor location, allowing him to clear the Elise. The Hagafa is really good here. Fury is considering which location to play. I feel like I would play the copy attack location still instead of this one, since you just kind of want a minion. Like, he's worried about board lock, but there's no Bob. And now this play is a little awkward here, as we have Voltaic Burst, and yeah, it's just like all a little off. He does not want the extra 1/1, he's concerned about board space. Yeah, this is just like all a little off here. Feeling a little off. Inkura does pick up the Dracorex. An amazing pickup, and the game where Shaman should be winning by a lot is suddenly slowly slipping away. Or is it? The triple Wish Upon a Star comes down. And then Fury is unhappy. I assume he's unhappy about not playing the Murlocs, which it does feel like he probably should have played. Especially after this turn from Inkuro happens, where he's able to clean up the very large minion and play his Marin, as well as put up a wall full of taunts. The Namelia will clean up a lot of this wall, including the Great Dracorex that's hiding next to the cairn. But that is not going to be that much board presence. Actually, okay, if with the Growthins that is going to be a lot of board presence. Let me take that back. But this is like, yes, this is a lot and this is scary, but on the other hand, this is kind of clearable by just like Invader Spell. Right, the 7th and even trades into the 6/6 to make Invader Spell better. There are only 3 minions that don't die to Invader Spell. One of them you can clean up with the Cairn. And then if you can kill off your own Invader, then that would clear the board fully. You can also pick up Bulwark so that you don't have to be scared of the minions that are being left up. So lots of options here, actually, for Inkuro to hit from this Wondrous Wand. I feel like I would start off with Invader Wand. He does decide to do that. And he does find the Bulwark. Also a Renovator for one of the Elise locations. Does not decide to play it now, just armors up instead. Not sure about playing these safety goggles. Maybe there was a chance you could die there from 19, but I find it very unlikely. Maybe something like Static Shock Pop-Up Book a la Kier. That could be enough damage, I suppose. Right. Actually, that would be one off. So, yeah, I'm not sure what would he die to. He decided to play the goggles. Maybe it's just a quick split-second decision. Fury does have a Furious Fouls from Hagafa, allowing him to fully pop this Bulwark. Inkura finds Succumb to Madness, which will resurrect a Great Dracorex for 0 mana from this location. And that allows for the Zilliax to come down and clean up most of this board. Pretty much all of it except for the 12-15, and leave up 2 taunts in the way. As well as the Great Dracorex, which is annoying. The Renovator also comes down to destroy the Blast Charge of that location. The other 2 locations were never played. And they both do have copy, so as long as you can get an Alakir, like get both of these locations down and play an Alakir, like it's still fine for Fury. But what you do have to be concerned about is the fact that you've drawn like most of your minions, if not all of them, right? There's, I think, a Ziliax, a Turbulus, and an Alak here. So if a Ham comes down right now, then it has a 1 in 3 chance to eat your Alak here. And Inkora can be aware of that because he's seen most of these minions being played. Inkora does find a Time Warp immediately off this Lofraxion, or Lofraxion? I don't remember his name. Of this quest reward. He doesn't have to, doesn't feel obligated to play it as this board gets cleared. And the Alak here will not have lethal here. Also picks up a Sulfuras, allowing him to push lots of damage. Yeah, the 14-17 Murlocs, very large Murlocs, are coming down. But the Ceaseless plus the Sulfuras plus the Time Warp is actually too over lethal here. The crazy outcome, he's drawn 4 quest rewards and he needed Time Warp and Sulfuras. He picked up both of them. Yeah, it just absolutely crazy that he gets to actually get away with this. Plays the 8-8 instead of pressing the hero power, which is virtually the same thing. And Fury can't believe it. He can't believe that he's actually lost this game, despite having probably the best Shaman hand he could possibly imagine. Quite a crazy victory for Inkuro. In the last game of the series, the Cycle Rogue just high-rolled Fury's Death Knight. This wasn't a particularly interesting one, so I'm not gonna bring it to you. But Inkuro advances as our final top 8 player. I don't know what was of his games, but I presume that his series versus Lovestorm is gonna be very exciting. That concludes the Group D, and the final standings, or the top 8, is here. We have Definition versus Chonsu, then winner of that plays versus Lovestorm versus Inkuro, winner of Lovestorm versus Inkuro in the semifinals, Yanming versus Jiaoti, and Maxi versus Philfeel. That all happens tomorrow. Stay tuned for that. Stay tuned for the recap. I'll try to make it a little shorter this time, I promise, but it just felt wrong to not show off the stories of all of these players and how they went out or continued through the tournament. Tomorrow, same as today, every match somebody goes out of the tournament. So it's gonna be exciting, and we are going to crown the 2025 Hearthstone World Champion too. So stay tuned for that. If I were to pick one person right now who would win it, I'm still betting on Maxi. But Inkuro had some really, really strong showings as well. So we will see how that goes. Anyways, have a wonderful rest of your day, night, wherever you are, and I'll catch you next time. Bye!